All right, all right, all right. What's going on, world? Welcome to the Life Malcolm Show. Once again, it's on. I'm so happy to be up in here to kick it with you. You know how we do. Uh, Got my super producer getting me right so we can come to you correct tonight. First of all, as is my custom, I must express my deep and profound appreciation to the In Touch News radio family. Specifically, big thank you and profound expression of gratitude to Mr. DJ CEO and, of course, Mrs. DJ CEO, aka Tampa Bay Timmy. Really appreciate the platform allowing this program to come to you each and every week, every Tuesday at 6 p.m. right here on In Touch News. I don't know how you're tuned in right now. If you're not tuned in, if you're eavesdropping, you should tune in at www.intouchnews.com, and you can also call in at 813-444-5888. And I know that sometimes we've had some struggles getting the phone calls in, getting them to sound just right. But look, we got it. We're getting a handle on it, man. We've been making some updates, upgrades to the systems and what have you. So please don't be discouraged to call in and give us a try. Look here, this is an African working class experience, and we are growing together. Believe that. So be a part of this thing, man. Call in. Say what you got to say. Tonight, we gon' teach a little bit. I brought a book. Yeah, we do some reading on the show. So I brought a book. But I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about tonight. Today is, I said what I said about my super duper producer, but I did not give my customary expression of deep and profound gratitude for all she does behind the wheels. And I got the super duper engineer up in here making it sound crystal clear. Y'all hear the rhymes coming. You can probably tell that I've been to a poetry show, and that's true. I went to it's kind of true. It wasn't really a poetry show. It was more like a spoken word event I attended. And this past Thursday, in celebration of the life of my man Sundiata Bay, also known as Breeze, DJ Breeze. I used to call him DJ Breezealicious. Some of y'all might know that from last week, I talked about the fact that my dear brother, with whom I had the pleasure of working for almost 20 years, on the spoken word scene. He was an amazing DJ. He had a music catalog out of this world, and this ear, man. He had an ear for good music that wasn't necessarily popular music until he popularized it amongst folk. So he always brought the flavor to the spoken word shows. And not only that, man, Breeze was an incredible writer. Wasn't much of a performer. He seemed shy in many respects, but a profound thinker and a very skilled writer. As a matter of fact, I wrote a poem once called Savior Fairy, and the story behind that poem is kind of funny. This brother, at this point in time in my life, before I started doing spoken word full time, this brother, I worked as a mason, not one of those handshaking masons, but a tradesman who actually built buildings. I might have told you I built most of the Walmarts in the city of Tampa and some other structures, like worked at Paradise Lakes. As a matter of fact, that's why I was working at Paradise Lakes when white people ran them planes into the buildings in September 2001 and blamed it on Obama. I guess Osama. They should have blamed it on Obama. But anyway, yeah, I was working at Paris. So I built a lot of stuff around here. The point of the story. Yeah, so I'm known for knowing words. I got a little command of the English lexicon. And so this laborer, African, non-skilled laborers, or I think they call them unskilled laborers. And of course, I'm a skilled laborer as a mason, but we all still laborers. So this brother comes up to me one day and says, "Yo, Life," testing my knowledge. He's like, "Yo, Life, do you know what the word Savior Feri means?" And I'm like, "Nah, dog." And it put me on pause because I really couldn't imagine that, number one, I didn't know this word. Number two, that this, in my mind, because back then I had some petty bourgeois in me. And, so I thought that somehow I was some kind of better, I guess, because I made a little more money. And he had to bring me mud and water for me to lay the block and brick. And I don't know, I had that kind of stupid delineation in my mind between he and I couldn't believe that this laborer guy, unskilled laborer guy, knew this word that I didn't know, right? No, he didn't finish high school, and here I am, with a pretty good high school education, went to some college, and here he asked me, "Do I know this word, Savior Feri?" I said, "No, dog." And I was like, "Well, what does it mean?" And he says, "It means," wait a minute, hey, y'all know what it means, studio participants? Do you know what the word Savior Feri means? Yeah, you ever heard the word? Yeah. And he says to me that the word means the ability to say or do whatever is necessary at any given moment. I was like, "Yo, wait a minute, that's savoir faire." He was like, "Oh, yeah, savoir faire." I was like, okay. And so I took that brother's unique pronunciation of savoir faire and turned it into a poem. But I wrote the poem. Breeze had a way of writing, taking material reality, real events in life and factual circumstances in the world and putting them in words in a creative, abstract, but still tangible kind of way. And so I wanted to do that because I was just, all my poems, all my writing, especially at that time, wasn't nothing really metaphorical, wasn't nothing really lyrical. Matter of fact, y'all heard some of my early poems, that Never See Me joint. And so, inspired by Breeze, I wanted to write this poem that had a little bit of abstraction to it, and so I used that poem. That word pronunciation to develop that poem with Breeze's style, and I think that's the only time. Well, not the only time, but the first time for sure. I can say I felt compelled to compose some kind of writing based on the work of another artist. And so, yeah, Breeze was just an incredible writer. And so, yeah, I was at the spoken word event. And I keep saying it was a spoken word event, but it really wasn't. It was, but there were people there who did poems, and most of the people there were poets in their own minds, and some in their own right, and some in real life. And it was, was definitely a festive occasion. Some funny things, some funny observations. You ever had the opportunity to come across like those pictures or maybe advertisements? Well, what they sometimes they look at childhood celebrities, or childhood stars, somebody who used to mean something to many people in the world but kind of faded away from public view, and they'll resurrect these people with a picture and say, where are they now? If you're not familiar with that kind of thing, it happens. You could probably Google it, like somebody who you haven't seen in a while, like where are they now? Just do that stuff. So this thing wasn't so much this event was kind of like where are they now, but it was more like a who are they now? Time has not been kind to everybody, and it was like waking up from a time capsule and finding a time capsule. It was more like finding a time capsule, but instead of everything in the time capsule staying the same, everything in the time capsule got older. So it was a really tripped out experience to see people who looked like totally different. Like, who are they now for real? So, but I will say this: I enjoyed the vibe, a lot of the energy, both good and not so good, remained the same. It was quite a nostalgic celebration. So yeah, if I bust out and rhyme a little bit, it's just a holdover from hanging out with some spoken word artists this past week. Speaking of hanging out, I was hanging out on Facebook. Why is that funny? I was hanging out on Facebook, and I try not to be judgmental because it's they tell me that's bad, but hey, it is what it is. And so I'm hanging out on Facebook, and I see this guy's profile picture, caption to the picture, something like that, and it says, "Son of Jesus." And I told you, I grew up in the church and whatnot. I know a little bit about the Bible and what have you. And I just had to shake my head because Jesus don't have no children. The Bible ain't never said nothing about Jesus having no children. So I knew, when somebody trying hard, but they ain't quite there yet. Brother one there talking about son of Jesus. So he is clearly letting us know that as much as he is trying, he just ain't there yet. And it made me laugh because it immediately jerked me back a couple of days prior to that Facebook experience where I was sitting in church for a funeral. Actually, it was probably like a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember exactly right now. Anyway, but it was this really big woman in the church singing, "Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me." You know the song, "Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me." And I was like, come on now, sis. You ought to sing a song that's a little bit more representative. Like, "Eat with me, Lord," or something. And and then I caught myself. Here I am being judgmental. Because the reality is, that sister might be walking now. She might have started walking. She might be in her just starting to walk stages and need the Lord to walk with her. And that led me to conclude that we ought to be careful how we sum people up, what we conclude about people when we see a snapshot of them, when we see them at a specific moment in time, because you don't know where that person is on their life's journey. So yeah, I taught myself something, and we're gonna do some teaching on the other side of the break. So listen, stay tuned right here on In Touch News. It's the Life Malcolm Show, y'all. We'll be right back.
Radio. In Touch Radio. Smoothing out your favorite R&B flavors.
What's your flavor? Tell me what's your flavor?
In Touch Radio. In Touch Radio, where you can listen to a cruising flow of smooth soul and jazz, today's R&B, a fun touch of hip-hop and gospel.
All my music on one station.
Giving you a buffet of music, news, and entertainment. We're In Touch Radio.
All right. Well, we're back. And I'm saying, hey, those breaks are very brief. Go by so fast, I forget to even get water in between. But, yeah. Walk with me, Lord. All right, so, yeah, we're going to teach. Bam. Some of y'all might know what today is. Some of y'all might think y'all know what today is. So people say they're trying to watch the show, but it's offline. I'm not sure what that means. If you having an issue, you need to switch your service provider. And anyway, all right. Because I'm watching me, and I know I'm. All right, but appreciate it. So check it. Yeah, some of y'all might think y'all know what today is. A lot of people think it's about the African that with whom we've all become familiar, George Floyd, and in large, in part, that African's life and murder is something that we should never forget. Certainly the political significance his life took on, because his murder took on after the life he lived, because there's so many political education pieces that surround the circumstances of George Floyd's murder. One of the political education pieces is that African people's life, African people in the U.S. don't mean nothing to the U.S. state, not even worth a counterfeit $20 bill. However, protecting the state, saving the state from resistance and rebellion by colonized Africans in the U.S. is worth forking over $27 million. That's a political education piece that we ought to hold on to. Another political education piece from that tragic occurrence is that because African people in this country, in the U.S., are not organized well enough to understand that what happened to George Floyd is no aberration. Is nothing unusual. It's what colonialism does. It's the way colonialism functions. Colonialism, the colonizer. And all colonialism is white people having total domination and control over African peoples and other people's lives all the time. That's all it is, in short. And in order to maintain that type of control, that type of power over our lives, colonialism has to be brutal. It has to slam African people down on the ground, place a knee in the neck, and kneel there with callousness and cold-heartedness all across their countenance, to instill fear in the colonized people, so that colonized people know better than to even try to pass off a phony $20 bill in opposition to colonial financial power. And another political education piece is that if you get caught on camera, if you the colonizer, and your ass get caught on camera, in any kind of way where, doing this kind of brutality to a colonized person, and you cause an uprising in the colony amongst the colonized, then they'll send your ass to prison. They'll sacrifice you in order to try to keep the colony intact. So a lot of political education pieces. And then those are just a few that are significant about what happened to George Floyd a year ago today. But that's not what, long before George Floyd, this white man, the police in Minnesota, what's this guy's name? Derek Chauvin. Long before he murdered George Floyd, May 25th had a different kind of significance for many Africans, and that significance is still African Liberation Day. And for some Africans, African Liberation Day is an important day to celebrate. It's a day that recognizes, or at least pretends to recognize, some kind of independence from the colonizer in Africa. Back in the day, when I thought I understood colonialism and African history, and before I understood African internationalism, I thought that May 25th was something all Africans should latch on to because of the symbol of African independence it evinced. But I've learned better since then, and so I didn't learn better just in a vacuum. I learned better by studying African internationalism as taught by Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, the leader of the Uhuru Movement and the Worldwide African Revolution. And as a matter of fact, in 2003, when I had some leadership responsibility in the spoken word troupe, Conscious Party, that put on the Black on Black Rhyme Tampa event every Tuesday for many years here in Tampa, we brought Chairman Omali, but we being the Conscious Party and Black on Black Rhyme Tampa, brought Chairman Omali to Black on Black Rhyme. At that point in time, we were at Club Classic over there on MLK, across the street from the laundromat. And my man Corey and Rob used to allow us to hang out in there. And it was a little hole in the wall kind of place. But some of the dopest spoken word brewed in that place. We at that time had the Uhuru Band as the official band of Black on Black Rhyme Tampa. And one night, for African Liberation Day, we brought Chairman Omali over to and he was gracious enough with his time to come through and present for us important lessons about African history and the history of African Liberation Day and share the African internationalist understanding of African Liberation Day. And subsequent to that, I worked with a couple of gentlemen for whom I have much love and respect, Kurt B. Young and Uwezo Sudan, and in a group we called Aim First Collective. And we too would, around this time, present African Liberation Day celebrations in the city of Tampa, because we understood that it had African Liberation Day indeed has some historic significance. But here's the thing: African Liberation Day is not the African Independence Day that cultural nationalists and colonizers would have us believe it is. African Liberation Day is a manifestation of white people's trickiness, because Kwame Nkrumah, on the day before this African Liberation Day in Addis Ababa, May 25th, before this emerged, the day before, Kwame Nkrumah was clear that what Africans had to do was separate from the colonizer completely, eliminate all of the colonial borders those colonizers had imposed on Africa at that time, and unite as one African state. And Nkrumah said that to do otherwise, to accept this token independence that the colonizer would ultimately dole out to so-called African leaders, would result in nothing other than neo-colonialism, which is white power in blackface. And Chairman O'Malley teaches that when the colonizer knows that they can no longer rule the same old way, that when their outright brutality and viciousness and straightforward colonial conduct can no longer causes the kind of chaos that makes it impossible for the colonizer to rule the same old way, then they'll find some African who has some aspirations, some colonial aspirations themselves, and stick them in a place and put white power in blackface. And there are a lot of examples of that right here in our own community. But certainly one of the most popular examples, widely known examples of that, would be Barack Hussein Obama. After George W. Bush, tried to bomb the people into submission and could not do it, caused wars and more wars and rebellions all around the world, white power was intelligent enough, slick enough to get this basketball playing, limp pimp, slick talk walking Barack Hussein Obama and stick him in there and make some Africans and others think that we were in some kind of post-racial era and what have you. But those of us who know history know better. Frantz Fanon wrote this book called Black Skin, White Masks. Read a little bit from the book. We got 2 minutes, and that's what we need. Let me tell you something. Growing up, used to wonder why people would say stuff like, if you talk what they call proper English, then you're talking white. And why Africans would be so angry when somebody accused us of talking white. But I'm going to get to that in the book. Frantz Fanon says, a Negro behaves differently with a white man and with another Negro. That this self-division is a direct result of colonialist subjugation is beyond question. All right, that's one passage. Here's another passage. Inferiority complex has been created by the death and burial of its local cultural originality and finds itself face to face with the language of the civilizing nation, that is, with the culture of the mother culture. This is Fanon. Fanon was a brilliant thinker. He's talking about black skin, white masks. And you heard me say a bit ago that how some Africans emerge as white power in blackface. There's a difference. Always been a difference. Malcolm talked about the difference between the house Negro and the field Negro. There's a class difference between Africans that is very real. And some Africans who live in these black skins with white masks want to rip off the damn mask. Other Africans want to put white power on and wear it in their black face. We're going to be right back with some more Frantz Fanon. Stay tuned in right here on the Life Malcolm Show. You watching us at intouchnews.com. And you can call us too, 813-444-9588. See you on the other side of the break.
old school. Today's R&B.
Welcome back to the Life Malcolm Show. If you didn't know, now you know. We are teaching a little bit today from Black Skin, White Masks, as written by Frantz Fanon. Before the break, you've heard me say before, it's not my first time talking about neocolonialism. You've heard me say before that neocolonialism is white power and blackface. You heard me say just a few moments ago that profound demonstration of such neocolonialism was the so-called presidency of Barack Hussein Obama. You also heard me say before I said that we have some examples, or certainly have had, not to say that we don't still have, but certainly have had some examples of white power and blackface right here in our own community for as long as I can recall. And just before the break, I also said that you can tell the difference between Africans by the way Africans express their aspirations. Some Africans, in order to resolve the contradiction of living this black skin, white mask kind of life, want to be like the white person. Get the go ahead, get the token to become their lackey and their representative of white power in blackface. They're neo-colonialists. Some of us want that. And there are others of us who simply want to rip off the mask, to be unapologetically black, to be nappy-headed Africans, big booty Africans, big lip Africans, loud music playing Africans, saying whatever we want to say when we talk to each other as long as we are right-witted Africans. Some of us want that power and that control over our own lives and would have nothing else, would settle for nothing less. And so, back to Fanon. Oh, yeah, before the break, too, I also talked about how some Africans would be upset when people would say stuff like, if you talk what they call proper English, and you talking white. But Fanon, in a very short sentence, sums it up for us. Fanon says, to speak a language is to take on a world, a culture. Yeah, that's it. That means to internally tell me, brother African, sister African, how is it you can imagine that if you speak good English, what is English but a white man's language? And if you speak good English, if you talk good English, how are you not talking white? And the same with the other colonial languages. If you talk good French, if you talk good Spanish, or you talk good German, and so on, how is it you're not talking white? And that's not saying that it's anything wrong with having a mastery of words. I think Fanon says something about that too. Let's go to the book of Fanon. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. Fanon says a man who has a language consequently possesses the world expressed and implied by that language. what we're getting at becomes plain. Mastery of language affords remarkable power. Yeah. Paul Valery knew this, for he called language the God gone astray in the flesh. So there's something meritable about mastering language. I quite pride myself on being able to communicate. As a matter of fact, my mother and I had this little loving back and forth the other day, because when I grew up, as a child, I always heard people say stuff like, if you use what people call profanity, that you don't have it's because there's some kind of dearth of words or something like that. Like you don't have a good one who uses profanity doesn't have a good vocabulary. And so I told my mother and my children, challenged them right then and there, because my children were there, challenged them right then and there. I bet you I can come up with at least a word for every letter of the alphabet which you've never heard, cannot define. And I cuss all the time. I love to use what they call the profanity, because it is a quick reference for a lot of people who might not know all the words I know. But I do know they know them words. I don't care who you are, where you are, right? In this country, at least. If you hear F, S, mother F, I think you can say damn on here. Damn, ass. And I think my mama said I could say it in the house too, because they're in the Bible. Damn and ass, I ain't gonna try it, but I'm just saying. And B, and yeah, I'm saying you, yeah. You H, yeah. Oh yeah. People know what you're talking about real fast. Get people's attention real quick. And so those words have utility. As a matter of fact, I'm leery of, I think it was Dick Gregory, whom I had the opportunity to meet one time. I think it was Dick Gregory who said, believe whatever the white people tell you, disbelieve whatever the white people tell you, and everything they tell you to believe. What did he say? Disbelieve whatever they say, and if they tell you don't believe something, believe it. And so I'm leery of this idea that white people say them bad words. What the hell make them bad words? What make them bad words? In my view, the only bad word is can't. The only bad word is can't. And can't died a long time ago in a Coca-Cola bottle. At least that's what my man JJ used to say. So, yeah. Back to black skin, white masks and African Liberation Day, and how a certain group of Africans on the continent, instead of desiring to rip off the mask, wanted more desperately to take on the white power and use their black face as a front and as an affront against the struggle for African liberation. But there are those of us who are clear that the only way forward, the only way African people in the United States and around the world can have a future is by ripping off the mask and taking power and control over our own lives, setting up our own government and ruling ourselves. We have to prepare to rule. And that's what being a member of the African People's Socialist Party is about, a member of the rural movement is about. But the thing I want to drive home is this independence, this power, this control over our own lives can't come about, it won't come about by voting, praying, singing, stuff like that. Got a call? Oh, all right. Caller, come on in.
Hey,
come in.
DJ CEO here. Life. Quick question.
Hold on, caller. I'm trying to get you. Hold on, stay there. I mean, don't hang up. I'm just trying to get you turned up in my headphones. All right, caller, go ahead.
Quick question. Do you think that white face, black mask, or however you said it, is generational? And do you think that the millennials really care about that?
Yeah. So I appreciate the questions. One, it's more than generational. I mean, you know, black skin, white masks is a phenomenon that runs along with colonialism. It doesn't go away until we do away with colonialism. So it spans colonialism. It has nothing to do necessarily with generation to generation, except for the fact that for generations African people have been colonized. And I will say that if young people, if millennials don't care about it, it's not millennials' fault. It's not because there's anything wrong with the theory that Fanon puts down in this book, and that Chairman Omali Yeshitela teaches, even when he teaches these days the theory of African internationalism. Because, you know, remember, young people, although they've always been the most energetic sector, the sector most willing to sacrifice their lives and livelihoods because they didn't have a whole lot going, right? I mean, they don't have retirement plans, good jobs, and, you know, oftentimes don't have mortgages, children, stuff like that. So they're the most energized sector, but a lot of times they are the most uninformed sector. And so it's important to teach the theory of African internationalism. We cannot win without the right theory. And so if millennials don't care, it's not any different. I mean, young people did not always care about sitting in at lunch counters until political education, until they got some political education. Young people did not always care about voting back in before the Voting Rights Act until they got a certain kind of political education. Young people like the Black Panther Party and those who rose up during the great so-called Black Revolution of the 60s in this country didn't always care about black power until they got a certain kind of political education. And so if it is true at all that millennials don't care about this colonial mental state where black people in black skin all the time but wearing these white masks all the time, trying to be like white people, to please white people, for the most part, instead of ripping the damn mask off, it's because those of us who know better have not yet have to be more effective in teaching the political theory of African internationalism. And so that's one reason why I'm so glad, so thankful, and express my gratitude each week for this platform, because this platform is one way we can get the theory out and encourage people to participate in the practice. All right, we got to go to break. After that, I'm going to read one more passage from Black Skin, White Masks. And yes, finally, we going to have a word from the Word. Yep, coming up right after this. It's the Life Malcolm Show, y'all. We'll be right back.
Radio.
This is Joel Sylvain
and Kevin Carr,
and we're with Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. Come join us every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Power Moves.
See you nodding your head and tapping your feet. In Touch Radio, we'll be right back.
Y'all be playing some of the best music I ever heard.
For more of your OMG jams. In Touch Radio. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to
All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Life Malcolm Show right here on In Touch News. I really want to appreciate the caller for calling in. It was an important question. Thank you so much. And I do really encourage more of you who are listening to reach out, man. Call in, ask questions. Let's struggle with it together. I don't pretend to know everything. Just the African internationalist who can figure it out. And so I'm going to read this passage, and then we're going to move into a word from the word. The final passage is Frantz Fanon says, "Oh, I know the blacks. They must be spoken to kindly. Talk to them about their country. It's all in knowing how to talk to them. For instance, I am not at all exaggerating. A white man addressing a Negro behaves exactly like an adult with a child and starts smirking, whispering, patronizing, cozying. It is not one white man I have watched, but hundreds. And I have not limited my investigation to any one class, but if I may claim an essentially objective position, I have made a point of observing such behavior in physicians, policemen, employers. I shall be told by those who overlook my purpose that I should have directed my attention elsewhere, that there are white men who do not fit my description. I don't really know one. Can we get that, DJ? So, as we move into a word from the word, we're going to piggyback a little bit from this passage that Frantz Fanon that I just shared from Frantz Fanon's book, Black Skin, White Mask, right? And listen, let me tell you something. Millennials are smart. If you don't think they're interested in this, why don't you have them tune in and let them tell you whether they find it interesting. That there's a different kind of summation of the world than what the public schools offer them. That all the time tell them that they were nothing but slaves and, got to get a good job and got to somehow participate in capitalism in order to be worth something. Not that they can govern and rule their own lives, their own selves, but they have to be subject all the time to the whims and wishes of white people instead of controlling their world for themselves. Let's see if it interests them. I know a lot of millennials who can dig it, but again, I hang around a certain kind of ilk. But this guy right here, you see him? Where is he? Over here. What's your? He over here, right? White people all around, and they know which side he was on. So this guy right here is a good summation of a good picture of what we just read from Frantz Fanon's book. Now, y'all know who that is? I bet you don't. That's Vonnell Cook. You know who Vonnell Cook is? Vonnell Cook is the 77-year-old white man who thought that he could talk to, like Fanon said, you can talk to him any old kind of way, but, you're supposed to be kind of nice like a child with, any kind of way. He the one who thought he could run up in the Dunkin' Donuts and tell Corey, say whatever he wanted to say to Corey Pujols. I got to find out how to say that young African's last name. But Corey, the 27-year-old who played Rock'em Sock'em with Vonnell Cook, knocked him out. He had never called another African that word again. But there's an article that exposes this white man. I don't want you to think that because this white man is the nasty predator pedophile that he is, that at least the article accuses him of having been, that I think for 1 second, or you should for 1 second think that it takes some kind of special white person to be vicious to Africans. That's not the point. The point that I want to make is this guy, old Vonell Cook, right? He had been arrested many years ago for child pornography and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. They caught him with he would entice the boys, he would entice little teenage boys with comic books and video games and candy and get them to the house. And he had, according to the article, DVDs and boxes of photographs of nude young men and boys, right? And only spent 5 years in prison. Now, Corey is in jail. Oh, no, he's not. He bonded out. He went to jail. Corey went to jail for defending himself against this guy's viciousness. And perhaps, who knows, protecting many young children from this predator, and is facing way more time, possibly facing way more time in prison than this guy spent for all the people he hurt, right? Y'all might know, I work in a law firm, and I see scores of Africans who ain't hurt nobody, ain't even touched nobody, let alone hurt anybody, looking at years behind bars. Like, I'm talking double-digit years behind bars. But the same law that wants to put Africans who ain't never hurt or touched anybody behind bars for years only thought it fitting to put this guy in prison for a few. So don't talk to me about law and respect for the law when the law doesn't even have respect for itself. And any millennial can tell you that. So, a word from the word. It's over there in John chapter 1. What is it? John 1 of the King James Version. Chapter 1, verse 1. We've been talking about the word this evening a little bit, from Franz Fanon's book. But it's also in the Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So y'all might know I don't really get into the Bible, the religious thing like that. That's not my thing anymore. Because I had some struggles with the idealism I understood coming from the Bible based on the way people taught me the Bible. But I've recently come to understand, like especially the New Testament, for example. Say that was written, like by the Greeks and something like that. I don't know who wrote that. I know the Old Testament is supposed to be like the Hebrews, and then I think the New Testament has these other white-like writers, and then you got white translators for sure. But man, starting to look at African history and understanding that Africans predate white people. There's no refutation, no meaningful refutation to that fact that African people were on earth before white people got here, right? African people were all over the earth before white people got here. And so when white people who may have done some writing, some scribing of these texts in the Bible, when their existence on earth began, we were here. In the beginning. We have no beginning for white people. They don't have a start time for Africans. We can look at history and say when white people began to emerge, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, who was God. And talk about God being everywhere. Like I said, everywhere you go, everywhere white people went, the African was there. Yeah. Not no hocus pocus, spiritual, one, all. And you know, they say we all look alike. It's because we do. Whether we dominated by the German flag, the American flag, the French flag, the Spanish flag, we everywhere we go, all Africans look alike. God, Africans everywhere. And the word. Oh, well, where the words come from? It wasn't Africans started language. Yeah, yes, we did. Language, mathematics, science. I mean, it's in the history book. So when, as a matter of fact, white people often criticize Africans for not writing history down. Africans in certain parts of the continent were always on the move. We ain't have time to carry around sacks of papyrus and other writing stuff. So we had griots and other storytellers who kept the word with us. So in the beginning was God and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And I am willing to put up for discussion. Obviously, we run out of time, so we can't talk about it today. But I'm willing to put up for discussion. Yeah, come on in, caller. You got 60 seconds. It's all yours. Go, caller.
Hi. Okay. That's too late. I think he's running out of time now.
All right, caller.
Hey, Life.
Yo.
Life.
Yo.
Yo, what's up, man? It's me, Ken. I got a question.
What's up?
If Africans occupied this earth first, what happened that gave the white people dominance over the blacks? If we created history, we have so many inventions, which I agree with. What the hell happened?
That's a great question, and I'm gonna say this right here. We had no reason to create stuff that would kill other people like guns because we had everything we needed. There was no material impetus to go around the world taking stuff from other people because we had everything we needed right there on the continent. But those people who were just coming out of caves, white people who were just coming out of caves, who had been half the white people on earth had been killed by the Black Plague and what have you, who lived hungry and desperate. It would even say in their history books that they went around the world so desperate and hungry looking for spices and salt and pepper and stuff like that. Even at a time when they thought the earth was flat, they were willing to sail off the edge of the earth looking for resources. And so these savages went around the world having nothing and stole the resources of others in order to survive themselves. And people who were peaceful people who did not have weaponry and what have you, did not have the means, the necessary means to respond to that the way we should have. But doggone it, we got them now. And so we better start responding. And that's all I got to say about that. Hey, I appreciate y'all tuning in to the Life Malcolm Show. Callers, I appreciate y'all calling. And I'm looking forward to the next time. We're going to talk about it. All right, y'all. To be continued.